Why do women chase the man who pulled away, but ignore the one who gave them everything? Why does your silence echo louder in her mind than your constant presence ever did? Welcome to Man of Substance, and today's topic is a powerful one in our series on female psychology. We're talking about what a woman really feels when you're not around. And no, it's not as simple as she misses you. That's wishful thinking. The truth is, a woman goes through a roller coaster of emotions when you're absent, and depending on what kind of man you were before the absence, that roller coaster either ends in regret or total freedom from you. Let's be real. Most guys think that being present 24/7, always available, always texting, always checking in, is the way to show they care. But you know what that really does? It makes you predictable, boring, and sadly disposable. But your absence? That's when the real work begins. That's when she finally has the space to feel. Not just about you, but about herself, her attraction, her doubts, and her desires. This video breaks down exactly what goes on in a woman's mind when you're gone. Not in theory, but in reality. We're going to show you how your absence can either haunt her or free her. If you've ever pulled back from a woman, whether on purpose or because life got in the way, this video will explain the unseen emotional process she experiences. You'll learn how to make your absence felt, not just noticed. And if you're tired of always being the one who's left wondering, stick around. Let's get into it. Number 1. She only feels your worth when you're gone. Here's the hard truth most men never realize. A woman doesn't fully feel your presence until she feels your absence. When you're constantly available, constantly replying, constantly showing up, you make yourself part of her routine. You become expected, familiar, predictable, and once that happens, her mind stops appreciating you, not because she's evil or manipulative, but because that's how humans work. We stop valuing what we don't have to earn. But when you pull back, not out of games, but because you're focused on yourself, that's when your value hits her. Suddenly, the man she had on standby isn't so easy to reach anymore. The emotional safety net she thought would always be there isn't. And that silence, that absence, it starts echoing. It makes her feel things she didn't expect. She starts to wonder, why hasn't he called? Is he over me? Should I mess this up? And for the first time in a long time, she starts doing the emotional work. Now here's where it gets real. A woman doesn't miss you, at least not right away. She misses the feeling she had when you were around. That sense of importance, attention, validation. When that's taken away, her emotional system panics. It starts searching for that feeling again. But because you're not there to give it to her anymore, she starts realizing just how much it actually meant. Let's say you were the guy who used to call her every night. No matter what, you checked in, listened to her problems, made her feel safe. But then you stopped. Maybe you got busy. Maybe you finally realized she was giving you less than what you gave her. So you backed off. Suddenly, that nightly call she rolled her eyes at, she wants it again. She starts looking at her phone, wondering if it's on silent. She starts checking your social media. She even replays old voice notes, not because she's weak, but because your absence finally made her feel your worth. This is the moment when the balance shifts. When you were always present, you were trying to be valuable. But when you walk away, she's forced to measure your value. And the best part? You didn't have to convince her. You didn't have to beg. You just had to disappear long enough for her to notice what she lost. That's when a woman finally understands what you brought to the table. So the next time you feel like pulling back makes you look weak or disinterested, remember this. Your presence never hits as hard as your absence if you carried yourself like a man worth missing. Number 2, your distance makes her chase herself. When you step back from a woman, something unexpected happens. She doesn't just chase you. She starts chasing herself. That might sound strange, but here's what it really means. Your distance forces her to confront parts of herself she was avoiding when you were constantly around. See, when a man is present all the time, many women use that presence as a distraction. They soak up the attention, the validation, the emotional comfort, and they don't have to look too deeply into how they actually feel about you or themselves. But when you pull away, that emotional noise disappears. And now she's stuck with her thoughts, not your messages, not your voice, not your attention, just her. And that's where the chase begins, but not after you, not yet. She starts chasing clarity, chasing feelings, chasing that sense of control she lost when you backed off. Women are emotional processors. They replay conversations. They overanalyze. They wonder if something changed about you or about them. And that loop in their mind, it only spins faster when they don't have access to you. And here's the part that most men overlook. Women don't like emotional confusion. They need to label things. They need to know if a man is into them, if he's slipping away, or if he's testing them. So when you create distance, you create space for her to start working out those answers. And those answers aren't always comfortable for her. She starts asking herself questions like, why do I care that he's not calling? Was I taking him for granted? Do I actually miss him? Or just the attention? Was I even treating him right? And those questions, that's her chasing herself. Not because you told her to. Not because you played a game. But because your absence created an emotional vacuum. And now she has to fill it. This is where emotional tension builds. You didn't chase her. You didn't flood her phone. You didn't beg for attention. All you did was pull back, and now she has to deal with the silence. That silence becomes a mirror. It reflects her behavior, her choices, her attitude toward you. And that's the shift right there. It's no longer about whether you're enough for her. Now it's about whether she was enough for you. When you were close, she had control. She got to react on her terms. But now that you're distant, she's reacting to your terms. And that imbalance, it makes her restless. It's not about punishing her or making her feel bad. It's about creating space for her to feel anything at all. Because in your absence, she doesn't just chase a man. She chases the version of herself that mattered to him. And that, right there, is where the power flips. Number 3. She remembers what she took for granted. When you're not around, something strange happens. At first, she might enjoy the silence, the extra space, the freedom to breathe without the weight of your presence. But that doesn't last, because with time, the silence stops feeling free and starts feeling empty. It hits her in the quiet moments. She opens the fridge and sees something you always bought. She scrolls through her phone and finds a meme you would have laughed at. She remembers the way you used to look at her when she wasn't even trying. And slowly, her mind starts replaying all the little things she never really acknowledged while she had you. This isn't just about nostalgia, it's about realization. You see, many women don't notice what a man truly offers until it's absent. Not the flowers, not the fancy dinners. What she misses is the emotional presence you brought. The steadiness, the grounding, the way you made her feel like she was enough without needing to say it. And now that you're not there to give it, she starts to notice just how much it mattered. Here's what most men never understand. Your presence isn't just about showing up. It's about the energy you carry into her life. When you're centered, confident, emotionally calm, she feeds off that. She might test it, she might resist it. But when it's gone, she feels the difference. She might not say it out loud, but the absence eats at her slowly. Women remember men who brought them peace in the middle of their chaos. They remember men who held the line when things got messy. And more importantly, they remember when those men are no longer accessible, because access is everything. The moment she can no longer call, no longer complain, no longer feel your energy on standby, that's when she realizes what she lost. And it cuts deeper than she expected. This is why pulling back, when done from strength, is so powerful. You're not punishing her. You're not playing games. You're showing her what her world looks like without you in it. You're forcing her to see the contrast between the man she once had and the silence he left behind. You see, a high-value man doesn't need to convince a woman to appreciate him. He simply lives in alignment with his worth. And when a woman sees that kind of man walking away, not with drama, not with bitterness, but with calm, it triggers something primal. A sense of regret. A question that lingers. Did I underestimate him? And once that question sets in, it doesn't leave. Because the truth is, most women have had guys who chased them, who begged, who over-explained, but the man she remembers is the one who didn't have to. He was there, fully, and now he's not. That's the imprint. That's what she remembers. The thing is, memory doesn't obey logic, it obeys emotion, and emotion is tied to contrast. The contrast between how safe she felt with you and how uncertain the world feels now that you're no longer in it. This is the power of absence. And let me be clear, I'm not saying you disappear to manipulate her, I'm saying you disappear to protect your energy, to remind both her and yourself that your value does not depend on her recognition, that your worth isn't defined by constant availability. When you leave on purpose, not out of anger, but out of strength, it sends a signal, one she can't ignore. Because now she's left with space, and space is where reflection lives. In that space, she remembers your steadiness when her emotions ran wild. She remembers your silence when she tried to provoke a reaction. She remembers that you didn't need her validation to stand tall. And suddenly, what she once called boring, she now sees as masculine strength. You were the anchor, and now the boat's drifting. Let her feel the drift. Let her sit with the weight of her own choices. That's how clarity happens. Not with more words, not with more effort, but with less. And remember, if she truly felt your value, she'll notice what's missing long after you've gone. Now, pause for a second. Ask yourself this: if she had to sit in silence tonight, would she think about you? Would she remember the way you made her feel? Or would she just scroll? Because when your presence is unforgettable, your absence becomes undeniable. Keep watching, because what comes next might just shift how you see everything. Number 4. Her emotions turn against her. At first, when you pull away, she might feel like she's finally won, like she got the space she wanted, like you're out of the picture, and now she's free to breathe. She might even post something upbeat, flirt with new attention, convince herself she's better off without you. But here's what no one tells her: that freedom she thinks she's enjoying isn't peace. It's the calm before the emotional storm. Because absence isn't empty. Absence echoes. When your presence is no longer there to absorb her energy, her emotions have nowhere to go, and instead of calming down, they turn inward. The very thoughts and feelings she used to project onto you now start spiraling inside her. She remembers everything you ever did right, but only now that you're not doing it anymore. She remembers how grounded you were, how you stayed steady when she tested you, how you didn't need to raise your voice to make a point. Those memories gain weight in your absence. They become louder than any sweet word you ever said when you were around, and more real than the distractions she's now chasing. She begins to question herself. Did I overreact? Was he really the problem? Why does this silence feel so heavy? That's the turning point. Because once the mind opens that door, the emotions flood in. Not just guilt, but longing, confusion, even regret. And here's the paradox. The more she tries to push you out of her head, the more you show up, not physically, but emotionally, in the spaces between conversations, in the quiet of night, in the way other men suddenly feel boring. And the deeper she sinks into that internal chaos, the more she realizes what your presence really meant. It wasn't about control, it wasn't about dominance, It was about stability. It was about masculine presence, the kind that made her feel something she didn't know she needed until it disappeared. That's when her emotions flip. The same independence that felt empowering starts to sting. The same silence that felt liberating starts to suffocate. And the worst part, she doesn't even know how to talk about it because it means admitting she lost something she didn't fully appreciate. Now, a weak man would rush back at the first sign of her confusion. He'd try to reassure her, fix her doubts, offer her closure. But not you. A man grounded in stoicism doesn't chase clarity. He lets uncertainty work in his favor. Because he understands one thing: emotions that can't be dumped on you will turn on her. And when they do, they leave a lasting mark. This is the real power of pulling back, not to manipulate, but to create space where she has to confront the truth of what she lost. And that process? It burns. So what do? You stay still. You move with purpose. You focus on your mission. You let her wrestle with the weight of your absence, because that's what teaches her your value. You don't teach with words, you teach with silence. And if you've done the work on yourself, if you were truly present when you were in her life, she will feel that loss like a shadow, not always visible, but always there. Let me ask you something right now. I want you to drop it in the comments, just 3 words. I hold power. Because you do. When you stop overreacting, when you stop explaining, when you let your absence do the talking. And don't scroll just yet, because what we're about to explore will take this even deeper. You've seen what happens when her emotions start to turn, but what comes next is what separates the average man from the man who's unforgettable. So stay with me. You're only one mindset shift away from becoming the man she realizes too late she should have never let go. Number 5. She starts doubting her own value. Here's the twist most men don't see coming when you walk away, when you truly step back without chasing, explaining, or begging. It doesn't just hurt her ego. It starts to hit something deeper, her sense of self-worth. At first, she may act like nothing's wrong. Maybe she tells her friends she's better off. Maybe she even posts something cryptic, a quote, a song lyric, something meant to suggest she's unbothered. But if you had any emotional impact on her at all, if your presence was strong and your absence is now loud, something begins to shift beneath that surface. She begins to question herself. Was I not enough? Why didn't he fight for me? Did I misread the whole thing? These questions come quietly. They don't always show up in dramatic breakdowns or emotional texts. No, they creep in late at night when the phone is quiet. When the excitement from the attention she chased starts to wear off. When no one she talks to makes her feel what you made her feel, by just being still, grounded, present. This is where real doubt begins to grow. Not the loud kind, the silent kind. The kind that makes her overthink every word she said to you, every moment she dismissed, every little power game she thought she was winning. Now she replays things differently. She doesn't just remember the last argument or the cold distance. She starts remembering how secure you made her feel, how certain you were, how you never had to raise your voice, how you didn't seek validation from her or anyone else. She starts realizing the attention she's getting now feels cheap, that guys who are available to her now seem too eager, too predictable, too soft. And none of them carry that same mystery or masculine edge that made her question herself in a good way when she was with you. That contrast makes her reflect. She starts measuring her current value not against how many likes she gets or how many compliments she hears, but against what kind of man she's no longer attracting. And when that man stays quiet, focused, and unattached, it hits her differently, because if she felt truly valuable, wouldn't you still be chasing her? This is where the real shift happens. Not because you did anything dramatic, but because you didn't. You didn't chase. You didn't explain. You didn't fall into the trap of begging her to see your worth. You stepped back and let her come face to face with her own reflection without your validation holding it up. And here's the truth. A woman who was used to being the prize doesn't know how to handle the feeling of being unchosen. It messes with her, especially when she knows she didn't expect you to walk. Especially when deep down she believed she had more time, more power, more control. But when you walk away with grace, with confidence, with purpose, you trigger something rare. You show her she's not above being forgotten. You show her she's not immune to being replaced. And most importantly, you remind her that value isn't determined by attention, it's revealed by what happens when attention is gone. That's the kind of impact that lingers, that plants doubt not just in her ego but in her self-image. And that doubt, that's not your burden. That's the cost of not appreciating what she had while she had it. Let me ask you something right now, and I want you to drop it in the comments below in just 3 powerful words. I don't chase. Not because you're cold, not because you're bitter, but because you know your worth. You know that real power isn't shown through pressure. It's shown through presence, and even more through absence. And if you've ever felt like you gave too much, tried too hard, or waited too long, know this. The moment you stopped giving what wasn't returned, the game changed. The moment you walked away, she became the one left thinking, wondering, doubting. And that's when the dynamic flips. So stay where you are. Don't rush back in. You're not done hearing how this power works. Because what's coming next? It's going to make everything you've been through finally make sense. Stay sharp. Stay grounded. Number 6. Your silence makes her see other men differently. When you stop talking, you don't just remove your voice from her life, you force her to hear everything else louder. Every compliment from another guy, every message from someone new, every effort from a man trying to fill the space you left. It all hits different when your silence is in the background. See, when a man she once respected goes quiet, he becomes the standard. Suddenly, the things that used to excite her start to feel shallow. The flirtation she used to enjoy, now it feels forced. The attention she once soaked up, now it feels cheap. Not because it's changed, but because she has. Or more accurately, because your silence changed her. It's not that other men got worse. It's that you made her realize what better felt like. You made presence feel masculine. Your voice wasn't desperate. Your time wasn't available on demand. You didn't try to impress her with noise. You stood still, confident, focused. That kind of man, that kind of energy, it doesn't disappear quietly. It lingers. It casts a shadow. So when other men show up smiling too much, talking too loud, trying too hard, she starts comparing without even meaning to. And what used to be attractive now feels off, too eager, too accessible, too emotional. She's not even sure why, but everything starts to feel flat, unimpressive. Because the truth is, she wasn't just attracted to your words, she was drawn to your silence, to the mystery, to the feeling that you didn't need her validation to be who you are. And now that it's gone, it's glaringly obvious how many men do. This is where your silence becomes a mirror not for you, for her. She starts noticing things she ignored before, like how fast other guys reply, how they compliment her too early, how they don't challenge her thinking or lead the interaction. She starts realizing how much energy men waste trying to please her, and how little that impresses her now. Why? Because your silence made her raise her standards without even knowing it. You didn't have to criticize other guys. You didn't need to warn her about low-value men. You just stopped talking. You stopped chasing. And suddenly, everything else around her seemed louder and less attractive. And here's where it gets powerful. When she begins to feel emotionally disconnected from those other men, she also begins to feel emotionally pulled back toward you. Not because you said something, not because you reached out, but because your absence created contrast. Now, she starts to wonder, why did he stop talking? Why does no one make me feel the way he did? Why does his silence say more than these guys trying so hard to impress me? And that's the moment when the emotional shift happens. That's when your silence speaks loudest. Because it's not just about withholding attention, it's about letting her taste what your energy felt like, then removing it completely. That contrast is what she compares everyone else to. So when she sits with another man across the table and he's smiling, complimenting, trying to be charming, she'll smile back, maybe even laugh. But in her mind she'll be thinking, he's nice, but something's missing. And she won't know what that something is until she realizes it was you. But here's the thing. You don't break the silence. You don't come back to check if she sees it. You don't need to. Because if your presence was real, your silence is working. It's rewiring how she views attention, masculinity, and what it means to feel wanted. So hold your silence, not out of spite, but out of strength. Because it's doing more than you think. It's creating contrast. It's exposing imitation. And most of all, it's reminding her that your presence wasn't just background noise. It was the melody she didn't realize she loved until the song stopped. Now tell me in the comments with just 3 words. I stay silent. That's not weakness. That's control. That's power. That's knowing that the right woman doesn't need to be told what she lost. She'll feel it when silence is the only thing you give her. And if you think this effect is deep, wait until you see what happens when she tries to win back what she once dismissed. Number 7. She hates that you're not begging. She expected a scene, tears, long messages, you trying to make her understand. She expected you to chase not because she needed your love, but because she needed control. That's what most men do when a woman pulls back. They beg, they explain, they plead, thinking it proves love. But all it proves is weakness. You didn't give her that. You didn't chase. You didn't ask for clarity. You didn't even flinch. And that silence, that stillness, it stings her more than any words could. Because now she's left with a question she never thought she'd ask. Why isn't he trying to win me back? You want to know what really messes with a woman's mind? When she realizes she lost a man who wasn't afraid to lose her. That's the moment she starts questioning everything. Her looks, her choices, her judgment. She thought she had power, now it's gone. Because you didn't fold. This isn't just about ego, it's about emotional leverage. Women are used to men reacting when they threaten to leave. I just need time, she says, and the man immediately responds, please, I'll wait. But when you say nothing, when you give her space without resistance, that space becomes a mirror, and she starts seeing parts of herself she's not proud of. The truth is, your silence exposes her intentions. It reveals whether she genuinely needed space or just wanted attention. And if her move was meant to trigger desperation, but instead triggered your indifference, then her game backfired. Now, she's the one wondering if she made a mistake. What she hates isn't just that you're not begging, it's that you look fine without her. It's the photos of you doing better, sharper, focused. It's how calm your voice sounds when she accidentally runs into you. It's how you seem lighter, not heavier, stronger, not broken. That makes her feel irrelevant. And irrelevance is what women fear most when it comes to men they once had influence over. Think about it. When a woman walks away from a man and he collapses, it validates her power. But when she walks away and he gets sharper, colder, clearer, that haunts her, because it makes her wonder if she ever really mattered. If her presence was a privilege or just a phase. This is when the shift happens. She starts peeking, checking your social media, asking mutual friends how you're doing. Subtle things, but they're signs. Because in her mind, she's not just curious, she's unsettled. You broke the pattern. You didn't play the role she wrote for you. And here's what's most important. You didn't stay silent because you were trying to manipulate her. You stayed silent because your peace mattered more than her drama. That's not strategy, that's growth. That's power. That's a man who's owned himself. Understand something deeply. The man who doesn't beg, who doesn't explain, who doesn't fight to be chosen is the man she never forgets. Because he left a mark, not a mess. And you know what? Deep down, she respects it. Even if she doesn't show it, even if she criticizes it, even if she tries to provoke a reaction later. That stillness, that refusal to beg, it carved your name into her memory. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment with just 3 words. I never beg. Say it, mean it, live it. Because once you learn how to hold your value, even when someone tries to make you doubt it, you unlock a kind of peace no woman can steal. And if you think this kind of calm is powerful, wait until you see what it does when she's the one who starts chasing your presence again. You're playing a different game now. Number 8. She craves the man who doesn't need her. There's something magnetic about a man who doesn't need anyone, especially a woman he once gave his time to. It flips the script, it shifts the energy, and it makes her question what she thought she understood about you. Because neediness is familiar, most men show it. But when she realizes you're not like most men, that's when the craving begins. A woman's attraction to a man isn't just about looks or status, it's about his energy. And the man who walks like he owns his time, speaks like he doesn't chase approval, and lives like he's fulfilled with or without her, that's the man she can't stop thinking about. Not because he's cold, not because he's distant, but because he's whole. When you stop needing her validation, you become unpredictable. Not in a chaotic way, but in a powerful way. She can't pin you down. She doesn't know what move to make, because you're not reacting like other men. You're not trying to win her. You're not available on demand. You're not orbiting her. You're orbiting your purpose. That's rare. And rare makes her nervous. Because now, your absence is louder than most men's presence. She might not admit it, but deep down, she respects the man who doesn't put her on a pedestal. A woman might test your independence, but she secretly hopes you'll pass. Because the truth is, a woman doesn't want to be your source. She wants to witness your strength, not feel like she has to carry your emotional weight. That's why the man who's grounded in himself becomes irresistible. She knows you're not texting late at night. She knows you're not checking her feed. And if you are, you're not letting it own your mood. You're in control of yourself. And that control, that's what makes her curious again. See, neediness is pressure. It pushes her away. But self-sufficiency creates space, and space draws her in. Not because you're playing games, but because you've already won the game that matters most. Mastery over your own emotions. So when you don't need her, she feels the difference. She wonders why you're not breaking like the others. She wonders if she misunderstood your value. And slowly, that wondering becomes wanting. Wanting to hear from you. Wanting to matter to you. Wanting to be near a man who didn't fall apart without her. Now, let's flip the focus back on you. If you've ever felt the shift in a woman's energy after you detached, after you pulled back, say it in the comments right now with just 3 words. I need nothing. And remember this, the man who needs nothing owns everything, including her respect. Stay centered, stay calm, and keep watching. What happens next might surprise you. Number 9, pulling back makes her chase. When you pull back, something inside her activates. And no, it's not because she suddenly realized you're perfect. It's because silence shakes her, distance rewires her perception. And when a man withdraws his energy without drama or explanation, it forces her to wonder not just about him, but about herself. At first, she might brush it off. She tells herself, you're just busy or distracted. Maybe you'll come back around. But when you don't, when the pullback is clean, calm, and deliberate, the chase begins in her mind. It's not about revenge or ego, it's about regaining certainty. And when you disrupt that, you become the question she wants answered. Most men don't know this. Constant availability is not reassuring to women. It's boring. It removes all mystery. There's no polarity, no tension, no pull. But when you shift from always there to just gone, with no explanation, that contrast wakes her up. Why? Because women are emotionally wired to respond to loss more than gain. And now, she's experiencing a small version of that. You're not doing it to manipulate. You're not punishing her. You're just walking back to yourself, back to your focus, back to your discipline. And that's what she feels, the presence of a man in control of his own time, his own energy, and that makes her chase, not because you asked, not because you begged, but because you left space where need used to be. That's where desire grows. And here's what's wild: when you pull back, she might act angry. She might get cold. She might say things like, "You've changed. Don't fall for it." That's not rejection. That's discomfort. You're not giving her what she's used to, total access. And when you stop handing out free attention, she's forced to earn it. That flips the power. See, the man who pulls back doesn't lose her. He reveals her. He sees who she becomes when he's no longer easy to reach. And if she starts chasing, it's not because you're playing games, it's because you've finally stopped playing hers. So let's keep it simple. If you've pulled back before, not with anger, not with guilt, just with clarity, and you saw her energy shift toward you, I want you to say it in the comments. I pulled first. And remember, it's not about going silent forever. It's about showing her that your presence is earned, not assumed, that your attention has weight, that your time is sacred. Stay grounded, stay rare, and stay tuned. Number 10. She can't unsee the man who vanished right. There's something unforgettable about the man who doesn't explode when he exits. No drama, no goodbye text packed with paragraphs, no emotional mess. He just fades, with clarity, with composure, and that stillness hits her harder than shouting ever could. You see, most men leave with chaos. They argue, they chase closure, they try to force one last emotional reaction. But the man who vanishes right, he does none of that. He lets the silence speak. He lets her sit in it. And what she feels isn't just absence, it's presence in reverse. His calm exit creates a noise in her head she can't quiet. She replays the last time he looked at her, the way he smiled, like he already knew he was done. She scrolls through old messages, hoping to find a sign of weakness, but she doesn't. All she finds is strength. And that haunts her, because this man didn't just walk away. He walked away with purpose, with peace. He didn't leave to make her jealous. He left because his value wasn't being met. And women never forget that kind of departure. Why? Because it reveals a man she couldn't control. A man who loved himself more than he needed her validation. That image doesn't fade. It lingers in the back of her mind, even when she's with someone new. The truth is, women don't chase the man who begs. They remember the one who didn't need to. The one who walked quietly, without resentment, because he understood something she didn't yet. His energy was a gift, and she stopped treating it that way. You want to trigger deep regret. You want her to respect you, even in your absence. Then don't react, don't explain, don't perform. Just leave, not in anger, but in mastery. And here's the twist. She'll see that man in places he's never been. She'll compare others to him, and they'll always fall short. Because once a woman witnesses a man disappear with dignity, with discipline, with detached strength, no other exit feels real. So, if you've ever been that man, if you ever chose silence over drama, strength over noise, drop it below. I vanished right. And never forget this. A man who leaves the right way never truly disappears. He becomes the story she never finishes telling herself. That's it, brother. If you watched this far, you already know your absence isn't weakness. It's power. It's clarity. It's the reminder that you were always the one who brought the value. So own that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you're ready to go deeper, join the members section. We don't chase, we elevate. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.